On Tap, Porter. Hi, I'm James Knott, and this is the Better Beer Authority. Today we are sipping on Porter from the Port City Brewing Company in Alexandria, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. This is a new, local, small, production-only brewery with a tasting room. The company was started in January 2011 by founder Bill Butcher with the help of his brewmaster Jonathan Reeves. They are currently available in D.C. and the Commonwealth of Virginia and have 4 beers for sale: an IPA, a Pale Ale, a Witbier, and this Porter. This is a robust porter with 7.5% ABV and 45 IBUs. The brewery says that it has bittersweet flavors of coffee and dark chocolate, and that you should also look for a hint of yeast fruitiness. They brew with Magnum and Fuggles hops. Hey, by the way, Richard, thanks for sending us this beer. We appreciate it. Mark.
James.
Explain the flavors in this beer.
I think the beer is very prominent with a lot of dark chocolate, a little bit of coffee in there is really what I get more than anything. As you had mentioned, maybe a little bit of fruit sweetness, not a lot, you kind of have to dig for it, but most dominantly chocolate and coffee.
Joby, who's gonna like this beer?
I think any typical dark beer drinker would enjoy this beer. I believe it's kind of your basic run-of-the-mill porters. It's a good tasting porter. We were talking earlier that, it might not have the bells and whistles that are gonna make you remember this beer or, be able to talk about it 3 months down the road. But I think somebody that's a dark beer lover or even is starting to get into dark beers, this is a good starter porter for them.
Okay, Scott, Joby mentioned the lack of bells and whistles. I mean, is this a straightforward porter or is there something of note to it?
Well, I feel like porters all have their own nuances to them, so I don't know that I really consider many porters straightforward. But again, I'm not necessarily a huge porter fan. I'm more of an IPA guy, which, my flavors change, or my palate's changed over time to appreciate different flavors. And this is one that I do appreciate, but I think it has a couple bells and whistles. I think that it's calling is something Joby just said. It could be for someone that really isn't a big fan of porters, because this beer is definitely something that goes down smooth for a porter. Does have that kind of chocolate and introductory kind of malty flavors and aromas and everything. I think it has a great profile for someone that's really trying to start out looking for a beer. So I would consider that a good bell and whistle for it.
Well, it's a robust porter, so it has a little bit bigger body to it than some porters would. Mark, what is your rating and your kind of assessment of this beer?
Overall, I gave it a 6. I have nothing bad to say about this beer. I mean, it's a fine beer. It's about the best I have to say about it. I mean, it's very drinkable. It's got a light to medium body, so it doesn't feel terribly like a big beer in your mouth. It doesn't feel too heavy on the belly. It's pretty drinkable. It's got a little bit of crispiness to it. I mean, overall, it's a fine drinkable beer. Like I said, nothing bad to say about it. But as we had mentioned earlier, probably not the most remarkable beer, rather, especially as far as porters go that I ever have. I would say if you come across it, maybe give it a shot, but I'm not going to inspire, our followers to say, go to the store and get this right now. It's a fair beer, 6.
Well, that's good because it's only available in a couple states. That's pissed off followers.
Joby.
Yeah, man.
What is your rating, and would this beer inspire you to go to the tasting room if you were in the greater Washington, D.C. area?
My rating is a 7, and yeah, I think it would. It's pretty impressive to me that this brewery just started up at the beginning of this year. And this is the first offering that we've had from this one. So yeah, I'd be interested to see the 3 other, beers that they have. I would definitely go check it out if I was ever there. Again, as we were talking, it's kind of an easy drinking porter. So as Scott was saying, it would come across good for those, introductory porter drinkers. It doesn't have like the real heavy coffee taste or even the heavy creamy mouthfeel. So yeah, I think it's a great beer, and if you're in the Alexandria, D.C. area, go check this one out.
Okay. Scott, what's your rating?
Well, first of all, I'd like to point out that I'm fairly certain that a gentle breeze would inspire you, but don't let that deter you, folks. I would say a 7.
What does that mean?
Definitely
I'm
so.
really not
He said
sure.
inspiration. He asked you if it would inspire you to go to the brewery. Would this beer inspire you? And I said a gentle breeze would inspire you. Get it?
Why are you looking at my...
I'm looking down.
Why are you
here.
looking at his gentle breeze?
He's got a. All right, I would give this beer a 7. Definitely. I think it's a beer that I would recommend to others that are looking to try a new porter that haven't tried a porter before. Even if it's something like a Guinness is something you like. I think this is a beer that you can kind of segue. It has a little bit more bitterness to it in a different way. I think the Fuggle hops come through in this beer, so I think it's something that someone could try if they're trying to experiment with other beers.
Okay.
I think it'd be kind of cool for people to get into this beer while the brewery itself is very young. And I remember when I first got onto the show, one of the first episodes that I did was, I can't even remember the name of the brewery, like Blue Road or I really can't even remember.
16 Mile?
Yeah, the 16 Mile, there we go.
Oh yeah, the ones from Pittsburgh or wherever.
Vermont or...
Delaware.
Yeah, there we go.
One of those
Well, see, it was so
eastern
long
states.
ago,
You
but
guys
what
are
I'm
all
saying
over
was, what I think is really unique is that brewery in and of itself was very young and very new at the time, and so it's kind of cool to get into a brewery when it first starts up and kind of track it over the years to see where it goes and what it does. Hopefully it stays successful, because craft beer is always, the craft beer scene is always just booming and booming, But I think it'd be cool that if people were close to the area, in Alexandria, to try this beer and to take note of it, So as they start growing and doing new things, it'd be cool to kind of track that along the way.
Do you guys think this is heavy on the chocolate and the coffee, or light, or somewhere in the middle?
I think it's more bitter in a kind of aftertaste than anything. I don't think it's heavy on either one. I think it's pretty well balanced, but definitely I feel like the Fuggle hops do come through.
Yeah, it's definitely doesn't have that kick in the face coffee taste that some porters offer. Again, it's really easy drinking, light mouthfeel, I think. So yeah, it's not too over aggressive.
Okay.
It's got a little, maybe a teeny bit hot bitterness on the finish, way after the finish. But up front, I think it's got a good, soft, creamy maltiness to it.
Well, I'm impressed. Based on this, I would definitely want to try their other 3 beers.
Absolutely.
And Port City Porter gets a 6.7 on the BBA scale. What's your favorite porter? Do you prefer porters over stouts? Let us know in the comments section. Thanks for watching. I'm James Knott, and this is your Better Beer Authority.
Better Beer Authority. Better Beer Authority. Better Beer Authority.